Sooner or later, this says that this hangout on air is live. Week, I assume, 18 of my journey learning Elm on my own personal time outside of work because I'm trying to be the best developer I can be and I don't want to be a slave to just one programming language. And I want to enter the web space. However, I have extreme prejudice towards JavaScript. And I want to maintain my journey of learning or solidifying the foundation that I've built of functional programming, and my dog is barking. That said, this is just a summary of me documenting my journey of learning Elm, improving my skills in functional programming, which I have reason to believe is the next generation programming language or programming languages that'll be here. I would guess maybe 5 years from now, it'll probably be mainstream. That said, that's my prediction. I can share my screen, full screen, start screen share, and present to everyone. And hopefully you're looking at some code that I have. The main code is this huge monolithic file called home.elm. Okay, this file is huge. I'm not proud of this file, but I guess it's necessary right now as I learn to program in Elm. So this is approaching 1,500 lines of code. No, I'm not proud of it, but again, it's something that's necessary, and I'm going to have a separate process in which I more than likely will partner with some Elm guru. There's a person named Chad Gilbert that answers almost all of my questions on Stack Overflow on the late night when I'm basically doing my 1 hour of Nikeza. In case you didn't realize, if you haven't watched any of my videos, I have developed a system, aka ritual, every single day of dedicating 1 hour towards learning Elm and working on Nikeza. Not necessarily in that order. So that's a brief little summary or background of what I've been up to. This home.elm is a monolithic file. Elm is based on an architectural pattern, if I can remember correctly, of how does this pattern go? It's update, shoot. It's update, view, and I'm missing something else. Oh, model, update, view. So your model is the actual data structure that is going to be leveraged for displaying your data, right? It harnesses the data that ultimately needs to be delivered to an end user. So that's your model, right? I can't articulate that any differently. It's a model. It represents your state of a user's session interacting with this program. In addition to the model, you have update. This update is based on messages. So these are the various messages: a URL change, on login, there's a profile thumbnail, there's a recent provider links, there's source added, view sources, add new link, view links, etc. Okay, there's a whole bunch of messages in here. This reminds me of the good old days when I was a C++ programmer specifically focused on Microsoft Foundation class. What's MFC? Microsoft Foundation classes, a UI framework that depended on a message loop, and basically there would be messages that would pretty much be pumped out, and you would basically have handlers to these messages, and that's how it worked, right? So this reminds me of Microsoft Foundation classes, aka MFC, in which messages arrive and we have an update that takes that message. It takes the model that persists, and with that message, it manipulates the model. It updates that model. And once it finishes updating that model, it will then ultimately, the Elm architecture, as I understand it, will trigger the view function to get executed, in which that view function that gets executed operates on the latest, the latest model that was updated via this function right here. And so we see for the update, this is the return type, the actual model in a command message. As I understand it, this command message represents how can I explain this? This command message represents the Elm's necessary plumbing to handle side effects. And side effects are, in this context, code that needs to execute that is not necessarily deterministic and has a high probability of interacting with the outside world. And in order for our pure functional code called, or a framework known as Elm, in order for it to be able to be useful, we rely on these command messages. That's how I understand it. I could be corrected. But again, this whole exercise, me doing this YouTube stuff, is me essentially reinforcing my understanding and attempting to articulate it and document it on these videos, so that when I'm at an interview table, when there's a client that I'm trying to basically help them build out some vision of a product, then I can sound really, really smart after I butcher these videos enough time. I can go into autopilot and really just be a well of knowledge. So anyway, that's the intent. I just explained the update part. Now I've been working on Project Nikeza for a while. As I mentioned, I've had this ritual of every single day work on it, kind of like my late mentor, Dennis Amler. He would do his Sudoku in the morning, and that's how he kept his mind sharp during his retirement years. Well, with me, I would like to think that my mind is sharp. However, this sharpens my saw because I'm forced to think in ways that I'm not used to thinking in. Hence, functional programming. Hence, web development. Hence, Elm, which is different from F sharp. There's similarities, but there's also some concepts that are somewhat different that ultimately I can add to my arsenal, so I can charge money, up my rates. So I'm trying to be the best developer I can be, and then share this knowledge with others so that they can up their salary, up their hourly rate. So anyway, what else can I talk about? All right, well, let's talk about some files, right? I'm using Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code, I could do Control-Shift-E, and that pretty much displays my Solution Explorer, okay? It shows all these files. I got hella files in here. Collapse it. These are some of the folders. This is my main file called home.elm, okay? In addition to that, I wrote some tests, but I don't really have that many, and that's okay because I don't have a client paying me to do this. So, but if I did, I would have tests all day. In Elm, there's some white magic that's involved for getting my tests to execute, because for whatever reason, I learned that if I want to get my tests to execute, I need to actually comment out this code right here, this main function, or this main driver. And if I comment that out and hopefully type in, I don't know, elm-tests, then I execute, some of the tests that I've written, which isn't many, which aren't many. I think that code is in hello test. And yeah, I'm not going to try to go over that because I can barely remember what I wrote. But anyway, Elm does support unit testing. I wrote, I think, a couple of tests. In addition to that, I have pretty much stuck to my guns on the architecture that I stand by, in which it's an architecture of running an application in complete isolation of external systems. If you look at my other videos, I've demonstrated that with, especially within this code base of, where am I at? Where am I at? Of having a services folder that essentially harbors a data gateway, right? This gateway is essentially a file that, or essentially code that enables web requests to occur. So meaning that this Elm client, if it needs to talk to the server, this is the code that it uses to actually perform the ceremony to talk to the server. Okay, this is when Project Nikeza is not operating in isolation mode. Okay. Now, in addition to that, that's the data gateway, but the same functions that are harbored in the data gateway are also harbored in my test API. Test API pretty much supports Project Nikeza running in a sandbox. And all of the code execution is in process within this actual code base, within this actual Elm code. Whereas when I'm running it in integration mode, then I'm actually talking to a server that executes F# code. That's ultimately .NET. And the details of that can be captured in this, where am I at? Where am I at? There should be let's just stop using the mouse. Control P, type in settings, and settings.elm. And this is essentially the configuration file that dictates if Project Nikeza runs in isolation and does not depend on any external systems in order for the application to be operable, for lack of a better term, or if it's going to run in integration mode, as we see right here, in which it actually relies on the server, right? So that's the overall architecture. If I launch this application, I guess I don't need you anymore. Where are you at? If I launch this application, I say localhost 8000. This is the home page, yeah, and then I can type test, sign in, and we see that there's a bugs here because I don't see 4 links, I see 3 links, which I struggle to figure this bug out. And there's no actual step through debugger that I'm aware of that's in Elm, specifically Visual Studio Code. I have not observed a debugger where I could actually step through code and observe data tips. I don't think that exists, so it's been really painful trying to troubleshoot this stuff. So you have recent links, meaning people that I subscribe to, recent links that they have pumped out that I now have an opportunity to click on and consume. We have your own personal portfolio that has filters on it. Yeah. The stuff that's highlighted in gray, that bubbled, that is at the top, represents featured topics that a provider wants people to be aware of. You can also look at all the links, so if I had more than 5, if I had like 30, all that would show up here, and you can still apply filters to them, So that's a portfolio tab, or well, whatever. You could create a link, and you could say some, I don't know, like this is a Nikeza. Crap, what just happened? This, what happened? This is a Nikeza video. Then you could say some link dots IO, and then you could say WPF, right? And then you could say content type is going to be a video, and then you can say add link, and this is your feedback that a link was successfully added. We're running isolation mode, and yeah, I don't know if that actually shows up. It probably doesn't. If I go to my portfolio, everything still says 5, so there's a bug that I need to resolve there. So that's configuring a manual link to content that you produce, whether it's a question answer forum on some arbitrary website like Stack Overflow, or if it is, well, actually, if you do a custom link, then that's more geared towards the user scenario of a podcast that you've been featured on. Or on some platform that doesn't provide an API for me to wire Nikeza to, that will pretty much automatically fetch the content that's already there so that you don't have to do it manually. What I mean by that, all right, if I click on this sources over here in the top right hand corner, we see that these are data sources for a provider, right? In this case, the provider is you. This is your dashboard. So you have a list of sources to select from: YouTube, Vimeo, Medium, Stack Overflow, WordPress, and you can pretty much just add a source by selecting a platform and then putting in the username of that platform, like Scott T Rock, right? And then you do add, and it shows up on Vimeo, Scotty Rock. This stuff, we're not connected. We're not talking to any external system, so it's going to say 0 links, and you can always disconnect, right? And so that's sources, as you see right here. Ugh. Get in the zone. You also have your subscriptions. So, for example, I may be subscribed to Pablo and Adam, and you can keep adding subscriptions based on this members tab over here. This is a bug right here because I'm already following them. So this follow down here for Adam and Pablo should be disabled or just not exist. I would say disabled because it's already done. No, I would say just be hidden because it's already done. Yet I haven't taken the opportunity to follow Mitchell or Odie. These are the original members of the Lambda cartel that is no longer active. Anyway, followers, as you see right here. So yeah, man, I'm excited about my progress. I pretty much did 95% of Project Nikeza. It was supposed to be a group effort with members of the Lambda cartel, but they lost motivation or life happened to them. Whatever the reason or excuses, I've been carrying this on my back and can't stop, won't stop. This is going on my resume. This is going on my portfolio, and this is what separates people that finish from people that just merely start. All right, and it is what it is. I'll call a spade a spade. So yeah, that's a summary of Project Nikeza. And 2 months ago, let me return back to me. Stop presenting. 2 months ago, I said I was 3 weeks away from finishing and deploying this to some server for others to mess around with, Nikeza Alpha. And well, I said that 2 months ago, and it's still another 3 weeks. But like, this stuff is pretty much done. I've done the back end. Oh, what? You I didn't talk about the back end yet? All right, let me come here. Let me show you the back end. All right. So let me share my screen again. All right. So I'm gonna show you the back end. Return back, screen share. Yo, Nikeza, come here. Yo, come here, come here. Present to everyone. And let's go back over here. All right. So what I showed you so far, is the Elm client. What I didn't show you are the actual server code, services, right? And not the services folder here for the Elm client with the data gateway and adapter, right? This adapter pretty much converts JSON that's returned by our server and converts it back into Elm structures. Just JSON profile, this JSON topic, you know, this JSON links and all this stuff. Yeah, we have code in here that basically converts these JSON structures into domain structures. JSON profile ultimately to a provider. JSON link ultimately to a link, right? And so I know I'm getting off topic. JSON profile to an actual profile, okay? Now, let's talk about what I wanted to talk about before. All right, where are we at? We're in the app folder. All right, so this is rocket science for me. What I need to show you is I need to show you the server code. Come here. All right, so we're on this server, Nikeza server. Go to that code base. This code base isn't written in Elm, it's written in F#, you know? And this is what Nikeza server is, okay? We got our main program, has the entry point right here, and this is basically leveraging the Giraffe framework, right, for doing, for managing web services, okay? So something called Giraffe, as far as I understand, and this is a reflection of it, right? We have this routes.fs. FS stands for F#. We see these giraffes, namespaces right here, okay? And I got a whole bunch of squigglies. You know what? Because I accepted a pull request for all this to be reflected or support .NET 2.0 that Mitchell Tilbrook did, and well, I haven't compiled it. I forgot how you do this. Is it like .NET build? I don't remember how to build this. Actually, I thought I just had to do like F5 or something, or executing task, whatever, and something didn't work. And yeah, .NET build. No, yeah, .NET build. The target resource does not exist in a project. Yeah, I don't know what that stuff means. Anyway, so this is Nikeza. This is essentially some code with a whole bunch of red squigglies that I hope I don't have to, well, I mean, I don't think I can revert to .NET Core 1.0 because we're at 2.0 right now. And I need to just figure out how to get that stuff to work, even though, like, I'm not a command line type of person. Like, that stuff is, like, cryptic to me. But anyway, let me show you to the bottom of this. All right. Basically have this web app function, and it has some stuff in it that I can't really explain, but I added a lot of this, right? So what does this mean? Well, for data that we need to fetch from the server, this is what this route F is for. I assume route F is fetch. I don't know. And we see fetch platforms, fetch YouTube, fetch WordPress, fetch links, fetch followers, and all the way down to fetch content type to ID. So that's for fetching data. Whenever we want to post data, such as we register within Nikeza a new account or a new user, we log in, right? We log out. We follow somebody. We unsubscribe. We feature a link. We update a profile. We add a data source. We remove a data source. we add a link, we remove a link, right? All this is in this post. I don't know what this choose is. I'm not a domain expert on giraffe. This was basically an example of someone saying, yeah, thou shall use giraffe as our framework for server side to handle web requests. And then they kind of abandoned ship, and now I'm stuck with a framework that I have to now learn how to use, because by default I would have just done ASP.NET MVC and just wrote that in F sharp. And there's some examples, and I've done some examples. Anyway, what's done is done. I got to man up and figure out how to use this stuff. But these are the main functions. If you want to see, what fetch platforms does, then I can go to the definition, and here's the code for this. All right. There appears to be everything is done asynchronously, and yeah, that's pretty much as I could say, or else ignorance takes over. Yeah, that's pretty much it, yo. All this is on GitHub, so you can look up Nikeza on GitHub. It's under my username Bismonger, or my internet name Bismonger. That's pretty much it. Is there anything else for me to talk about? This is using for .NET Core. .NET Core doesn't necessarily have the tooling that we're used to, and so the server side relies on ADO.NET code, meaning hard-coded SQL strings, SQL queries. And it is what it is. So that's what the SQL.fs is, or common SQL functions that return SQL text. Let me start over. Common functions that return SQL statements to be executed. This store right here reflects a data store. It has a connection string due to our SQL dependency. And the whole fetch that I talked about earlier, get links, get followers, subscriptions, yeah, all that stuff translates to this, or distills down to this down here at a lower level. Then we have a WordPress API, we have a YouTube API. We still need to add a Stack Overflow API, and I feel like I'm missing something else. But anyway, yeah, this is the server side. This is written in F sharp. The client side is written in L. Okay. Let me return back to me. Let me return back to me. That's it. 2 months later, after I said I was 3 weeks from shipping, I'm still 3 weeks away from shipping. This has been a painful marathon, more of a triathlon, because I'm operating in 2 different code bases in 2 different languages, and I'm reinforcing my skills as a professional developer. I am adding to my arsenal additional tools so that I'm not a slave to one programming language paradigm, hence object-oriented programming. I'm solidifying my foundations in functional programming, and I am solidifying or getting a better understanding of different techniques in functional programming, and how Elm does stuff, and how F sharp does stuff. And what's on my list to do, I'm not sure if I'm going to make this, I'm not sure if I'm going to end up moding or chopping up Nikeza server to a microservice architecture. I'm strongly considering it, because now I think I leveled up to the point that I want to start doing Idris, because I'm really attracted to dependent types. I'm really attracted to harnessing types so that it reduces the number of example-based tests that I need to write. And that is attractive to me. And that is going to separate me from my competition. And that is going to solidify me as a professional, as being an outlier that regardless of reality is, I strive to stay more advanced. I strive to build solutions faster and with higher quality than mainstream developers. And I'm actively demonstrating, not talking, but demonstrating with consistent progress and status reports every single week. That's it. Adios. I'm Scott Nimrod, Project Nikeza, from Cleveland to Miami Beach. Look, search me on .NET Rocks, search for me on Developer on Fire, on testtalks.com, all these podcast shows. And yeah, that's what's up. Call to action is this YouTube channel. I also interview people that I have a deep amount of respect for. And not all of them are well-known thought leaders, aka rock stars. Some of them are up and coming, and I enjoy learning other people's perspectives so that I can, well, apply what I've learned from them. And that's very valuable to me. So the reason why I say that is because I'm really interested in talking to you on YouTube Live. Check out the videos. Check me out. I've had some amazing thought leaders on here. I've had Scott Blashin. I have had Mark Seaman. I have had Jessitron. I've had Terrence McGee. I've had a lot of people, and I know some people are getting upset because I can't remember their names. Ted Neward. I've had hell of people of that quality, and I hope to have you next. So, adios. Feeling myself right now because this is my day to chill and rest and get it in, on my own little project. So, adios. Te veo a ratito. I am out. Peace.